Hi, I am so excited. I am getting an opportunity to talk to Brennan Ursu. Did I say your last name right, Brennan?
Yes, yes, you
Ah,
did.
I have been practicing all night. He is the owner, operator, creator, the brain behind Bear Sprouts. Brennan, tell us a little bit about what is Bear Sprouts. I know, but not everybody else knows.
Yeah, sure. So Bear Sprouts is the only certified organic sprout farm in Arizona. So sprouts are just like 4 to 5 day old vegetables. We grow them indoor hydroponics, and it's one of basically the healthiest superfoods on the planet.
So when I think of sprouts, okay, now I'm going to date myself. I think of sprouts like 1970s, that like kind of funky hippie food. But that's not your sprout, right?
Um, in a way, I mean, so you can sprout literally anything, any
Okay.
vegetable you can sprout. So, for example, one of our most popular sprouts is a broccoli sprout. It's just a 4 or 5 day old version of broccoli.
Oh,
So, like back in the 70s, for example, a lot of people would be eating things like alfalfa sprouts.
yes.
Um, right, yeah. So that's just another type. That's just the alfalfa plant that's 4 days old.
Oh, see, I thought a sprout was like there was one kind of sprout, but you're telling me there's a variety. There's all different types of sprouts.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
tons. Tons and tons.
oh wow. Well, so now this is young entrepreneurs. So I'm going to come right out of the gate and ask you, how old are you, Brennan?
I'm 23.
23. When did you start your business?
So I started it in 2019 November is when I got my building. Finished building it out in February of 2020, and started growing the end of February, beginning of March.
And now I'm going to back up a little bit. Had you just graduated college? Is that what I remember you telling me?
Yes, so technically, yeah, I graduated college in December of 2019.
Okay. And
So
so,
just
how did this? Tell me the story. How did this all transpire?
yeah, so the main thing is for me, I used to have a ton of health issues. I'd get sick 4, 5, 6 times a year,
Oh wow.
and I'm not really keen on pharmaceuticals, so I was looking for a more natural way to help with that.
Mhm.
And my brother actually ended up finding out about sprouts and how they're just incredibly nutritionally dense. I started growing them at home myself, eating them daily, and I just started kind of feeling a lot better. Didn't feel as tired, didn't feel sick after, eating all my food all the time. And then after a while, a year went by and I'm like, man, I haven't gotten sick in a full year. This is crazy. What's going on here? So I started digging a lot into the research and the science behind it, and found out, well, yeah, there's a lot here. They're one of the healthiest superfoods on the planet, and it does a lot for the human. There's a huge opportunity in Arizona, and I decided to just go for it.
You graduated college. Did you
Yeah,
graduate from ASU, Arizona State?
I did.
Okay, you graduated
Yes.
from college. You had a year from graduating to starting your business. Did you work a traditional job before starting your business?
Oh, so no, sorry. So I started the business in November 2019, and I graduated in December 2019. So I actually started it like a couple months while I was still in
Oh, so
school.
before you even graduated, you had started your Sprouts business.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
brilliant. I have to be honest, I wish I had done something like that when I was in college. I took the traditional, I'm going to finish my college degree and get a job, with a real, a corporate company. And it was just, I was miserable. So you started this business. How did you broach the subject with your family?
Well, my whole life I've always wanted to start businesses. Like growing up, in middle school, me and my cousin would go on golf courses and sell golf balls. I wanted to, how to have a lithium mine for a little bit. I tried to build snow skis. I've done all these different things. I've always wanted to, have a business. So it's always been on the forefront of my mind. How can I do this as soon as possible?
Uh-huh.
So they weren't surprised. They were just wondering, all right, how serious are you about this idea? And how is this going to work? This is just a farm, right? Like, are you sure you want to be a farmer?
Yeah, because that really is sort of, if you get down to the nitty gritty, that's kind of what you are. You're a farmer, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
And had you in school learned about, farming, farming is not just planting something in the ground, but I mean, it's a real science to it. How did you learn that aspect?
Yeah, so I studied mathematics in school and was planning, if I wasn't going to start a business, going into the finance route. So I had absolutely nothing to do with agriculture or even like nutritional science or anything like that. It was all self-taught, basically from reading as many scientific journals that I could find and understanding the nutritional aspect first, then going in and getting industry connections, understanding how exactly this stuff grows, what's the most efficient process, how should I build out my building, everything like that.
I just seems to me it just seems overwhelming. But you're saying you got all this done, or you started the ball rolling before you even graduated college.
Yes.
And how did you handle? You're a young person and you don't have a background in farming. Your family hasn't been in farming, but now you're saying you learn from experts. You're jumping into farming, which really traditionally is families have been in farming for a long time. I know. I also live in Arizona. We've got a lot of people whose entire legacy has been in farming. So how did you break that wall? Because I think sometimes I often hear from younger people that jumping into an industry that has a lot of older people that have been doing it for a long time, they're not always real giving with information. How did you break down that wall?
Yeah, that was interesting for sure. Because, especially for the sprout industry, it's filled with legacy companies that were started like in the 30s, 40s, 50s. And so being a new guy coming on the scene, what I kind of had to do was build a relationship and a trust through the educational side of things. So I went and I got my certifications in safety, sprout safety classes, and I built a relationship with the educators first, and then got references for industries that are that wouldn't be competing with me. For example, sprout farms in Florida. That kind of took me under their wing and taught me a lot about the actual operational side of things.
So you've made those connections by going through, you said, through the instructors at the safety courses you took?
Yes.
Now, how did you know to do these things? Or that's what I find so intriguing, because I didn't even know there was more than I didn't even know there was more than one kind of sprouts. But you seem to be able to find out all these steps to take to get where you're at now. How did you even know to do that?
Really, it came down to looking at what is important in the industry and studying that first. For me, the most important thing was nutrition. That's what I studied first. Then understanding more about what the industry cares about was safety. That's what they have on their highest priority list of priorities. So that's what I then decided to study and tackle and see, okay, look at this. I need this safety certification and this safety certification before even starting a farm. How do I do that? What's the purpose of it? And maybe there's some connections in here that I can, gain that will help me in understanding the operational side of things. Okay.
And was there anything along that kind of that process, that learning curve, that surprised you? You're like, wow, I didn't expect that.
Well, initially, I understood that. So back in especially late 90s, early 2000s, the government decided to classify sprouts as a super risky food.
Super risky? Is that what you said?
Yes. Yeah. So it's they regulated it through the FDA instead of the USDA. And so I was kind of interested in okay, why is it such a risky food to eat? Why are people scared to eat this? Why is the government saying you shouldn't be eating sprouts? So after studying it and understanding what happened during those time periods and the history of it, it really just came down to a lack of awareness and a lack of focus in the safety realm. Operations and procedures weren't in place that, would allow for the safest vegetables to be grown. So a lot of outbreaks would happen back then. Now, so much innovation has come from the technological standpoint with seed sanitation, organic seed sanitation, water testing. We test our sprout irrigation water Every single batch that we grow, we test for E. coli, salmonella. We do regular listeria, environmental testing. There's all these different tests that you have to do. And then from a procedure standpoint, like you're washing your hands a trillion times a day. You got coverings on everywhere. You can't wear clothes that were outside ever inside. You have to have all these different lab coats. You have to have a clean room in between. So safety is just like the most important thing that you can possibly imagine when it comes to sprouts.
So I know we've got a picture of you decked out. Is that like what you're saying with a clean, kind of you got the hairnet on, you've got a lab, so it looks like a lab coat and gloves. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, you got a lab coat, you got to wear your hairnets, gloves, everything. Like that lab coat would never have been worn outside the building. It has to be washed every single day after you use it. You just don't want to allow any bacteria that can come from outside inside. So that makes the facility super, super, super clean. You're cleaning the building every single day, doing deep, deep cleans.
And are the sprouts grown in the building, or are the sprouts grown somewhere a different, like a lot of, land somewhere?
So they're grown actually in that photo that you have of me. It's grown in that drum right behind me.
Really? So that's where they're actually grown, in the big drum?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that drum can grow about 500 to 600 pounds of sprouts every 4 to 5 days.
Wow. Now, you said you went and you found a building, and then you obviously had to get these drums, right? And so, just to be blunt, how did you finance that? Because I think other young entrepreneurs want to know that.
Yeah, so what I did, I put 100% of everything that I had into the company.
Wow.
Moved back in with my parents. ASU gave me a bit of funding. They have a program that invests in entrepreneurs from that went to ASU, and they'll give a bit of money too. And then I also had a little bit of funding from my family as well.
See, that's interesting, because again, I went to ASU long before you. I wouldn't have even known that they had programs like that. You said that there was funding to help young entrepreneurs. I wouldn't have even known that. I think that's great. And did ASU make you aware of that, or was that you just found out again through your investigative approaches?
That was just an investigative approach again, through people, asking people around, just talking, hey, I'm starting a company. Do you know anything that can help me with that? And stumbled upon, it's called Venture Devils.
Okay. So you found a building and you got these big drums to grow the sprouts in. Then what did you do? So what did you do? Did you find someone to buy your sprouts first? Did you grow the sprouts?
Yeah, so what I initially did is I went to, before even starting getting the building, months in advance, like in January of 2019, I went around to a bunch of restaurants and just gauged interest first. Hey, would you guys be interested in buying these vegetables, these sprouts that I want to grow from us in the future? What's your interest level on that? And then found out, okay, yeah, there is a market, built some relationships, kept in contact with them. Then once I got my building, about a week before I started growing, I really went around again to all of the different restaurants I had connections with, spoke with them, hey, I'm going to come by, I'm going to bring you some samples, try out our product. And for about 2 weeks, I went around, once I started growing, to every single restaurant I could possibly find. I went to like 200-300 restaurants in the Phoenix metro, and was just giving out samples, speaking with the chefs, building relationships. The thing is, right after that, that 2 weeks, coronavirus shut down the entire state. So all those restaurant connections fell through basically, and any lead that I had fell through. So I was totally, on nothing.
Oh my gosh.
So what I ended up doing is like, okay, so how can I get my sprouts to the end consumer, being, a regular person, without building out now an entire distribution network? Because one, I don't have any money to do that. And then two, that's just going to take way, way too much time. Mm-hmm. So what I ended up doing is just finding anyone that already had an established network. So for example, other farms, I would go into their farm. They have CSAs is what they're called. Get into their farm boxes, sell through there, sell through other local produce stands, produce markets, like independent grocery stores that I could get into, food boxes, and meal prep services, any of those that I could just reaching out to every single different, company I could get a hold on while through that whole COVID period. And it held me all the way through that period, and I was able to survive.
So did you just pick up the phone and give them a call and say, hey, I've got sprouts and I want to know if we can put them in, your boxes?
That, or if they just wouldn't pick up the phone, I just show up at their door.
Really? So tell me by doing that, showing up at their door, tell me about the best experience and the worst experience when you did that.
The worst experience was showing up at their door and basically, first no one was there. And I drove, 45 minutes, but then waited around a little bit, found them, hey, super busy. I just cannot talk to you. I'm sorry. Don't want your samples, nothing. Just right about, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was a waste of time. The best experience, I went to this place called Sing Meadows, just showed up, hey, you guys, they have a huge network of selling produce boxes. Showed up, hey, I want to give you guys a couple samples of our sprouts. We're the only certified organic sprout farm in Arizona. We have, one of the healthiest superfoods you can eat, telling them all about this. Oh, great, yeah. Here, how many do you have on you right now? I'm like, I have 30 boxes that I'm going around to take samples. Oh, I'll just buy them all right now.
I'll just do this. So they just took all 30 off your hands?
Yeah, so they just took the 30 boxes off my hands. Yeah, we'll try them out right now. And then, get a call back, the next week. And then they're like, oh yeah, okay, we'd love to start ordering with you. And they started placing, semi-large orders, and that really held me through as well, a couple hundred boxes every week, which was nice.
And now I know you're also at farmers markets, because I saw you there 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
How did you decide to move into that space?
Farmers markets was an interesting thing. There was two kind of reasons behind it. One, I decided, well, I need a lot more customer awareness of my brand locally if I'm going to want to get into grocery eventually. And then second, it's also going to be just a very good, approach to just generating a little bit of income that'll help keep the lights on. It's another stream of revenue just in case something else falls through. It's another safety net, even though it's not necessarily something, you're going to go gangbusters on. It's something that's really good and really solid that you can establish a repertoire in, as well as, help supplement some of, the future investments that you want to try out too.
And I know, since I've seen you at the farmers market, your booth, is that the right word to use, booth? It looks gorgeous. I mean, it looks beautiful. So did you have somebody design that for you, or did you do that? I pretty much did it. My mom helped me out a little bit with the design. Like she helped me with my tablecloth. Okay.
But we built the whole our stand, our chalkboard. We have a homemade chalkboard that we built. Did all of it.
And in this process of building your business, what's something you would do differently if you were to go back and do this again?
Well, one of the main things is you always have to have some type of backup plan when it comes to both vendors, customers, distribution, all of it. So for example, when we first we just got into Bashes and AJ's last week.
Yay! I love AJ's. Yay!
Awesome. And so during that process, first I dramatically underestimated how long the process would take. It's a very, very long process. Everyone has to do their deep due diligence on it.
Now, when you say the process yes. of getting into Bashes and AJ's?
Yeah, the process of them saying, hey, we'll take you on as a vendor.
Okay.
So, I spoke with the produce buyer for maybe 9 months. I had a connection, a relationship developing with them before actually I ever had any safety certifications, before my organic certification, before any of that. I just immediately started going for the people. I was like, let's try and go big here and see what happens.
Uh-huh.
Thankfully, I did that because, it took way longer than I thought. But, for distribution, I had a distributor lined up that I thought was going to be perfect, fall through basically in 2 days before I needed to deliver my sprouts to the distribution center.
2 days?
And I was like, 2 days. And I was like, oh, right. How do I figure this out? So I ended up finding 2 other backups, like, thankfully, within, basically 24 hours that could help me out. And then out of those 2 backups, one of them fell through about an hour before they were supposed to come and pick it up.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, okay, at least I got one. So that was something that I, that was, that I didn't really have that planned. I initially just had one distributor I was going to rely on. That was not a good idea. And that just goes for everything. My seed suppliers, my chemical supplies for cleaning, all that stuff. It's like people might not have something when you need it for months sometimes, especially during COVID when there's all these shortages going around.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've experienced that just in getting everyday goods. Like all of a sudden what used to be there is not there. And now you've got, even on a larger scale, trying to do that. Have you started to see the restaurants come back?
They're slowly starting to come back, yes. For a while here, I actually didn't even really target them just because I understood, even though the restaurants reopened, even though they're at like 50% capacity, they're going to keep their bare essentials. They're not going to try and do something that is going to be like a fancy add-on, for example. And really, when it comes to restaurants, sprouts are more as an add-on. They're not going to use them like, in bulk normally. So I still strayed away from that and more towards grocery and other avenues I could sell my sprouts through. Until semi-recently, within actually the last probably 2-3 weeks, I'm starting to pursue more restaurants as everything's opening up a little bit more. And that's proving to be a bit more successful as well.
That's exciting. Now, can I go to Bash's and AJ's and find your sprouts there now?
At all AJ's you can, and then there's a select amount of Bashas. It's not all Bashas around Arizona. Okay. We're starting off a little bit slower through Bashas, but we'll get there.
Oh, I love AJ's. I'm excited. So what would your advice be when you think about other young entrepreneurs? What would your advice be to them?
Again, detail is so important. It's everyone always says detail, pay attention to the details. It's so important. Me, I'm more of a big picture person as well. So details are not always my biggest strength, but every tiny little thing matters quite a lot when you're running a business. Just looking at, this temperature ranging in the summer in, our storage areas, it got up a little bit too high, and we had a little bit of a, issue with that. That's going to help with, storing our chemicals. They can, if it gets too high, it can explode. That's going to be a huge disaster. Looking at packaging, just airflow, it's just so small, in these boxes. It can be so minute. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, it has airflow, good enough. If the holes are too big, product's drying out. If they're too small, they're going to die. They're going to rot, So all these small little things, they really add up and can make a big difference. And honestly, it can make the difference between securing big customers and not, because everyone can kind of, everyone that wants to start a business is going to start a business, but really it's the drive and the effort that you put into those minute details that are going to make you successful or not.
So how did you learn to become, because if you're a big picture person, I think becoming detail oriented is not easy. So how did you hire someone to help you? Did you lean on somebody? Did you just force yourself to be different? What'd you do?
2 things. One, my brother's extraordinarily detail oriented, and he helps me out with that quite a lot. And then second, I write down anything that I think of, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this. I record all of it on a calendar basis and record, okay, these are all the activities I need to do or think I might need to pay attention to. And I structure them in order of importance and general due date, if you want to call it that, to decide how I would approach each task that I'm going to need to do. Only takes 10 minutes to record that, and it'll save you so much headache and so much, well, everything.
So you write it down? Is what you're telling me? Wow. I mean, that's impressive. But I think that is a really good point you've made, because if you tend to be a big picture person, sometimes those small details sort of fall through the cracks. What's the vision you have for your business moving forward? What do you hope it grows to?
Well, for me, my biggest thing is I really want to educate as many people as possible on the nutrition of sprouts, being that they are one of the most nutritionally dense superfoods you can possibly eat. There's like 20 to 60 times more nutrition in a sprout versus a fully grown vegetable. I want people to be more aware of that, understand nowadays sprouts are very safe to eat and they should be incorporated in everybody's daily diet. So that's going to involve, eventually growing to more grocery stores and operating just as a farm, but also maybe expanding into different sprout-based product lines and also educational side of things too.
So when you first started your business, I'm sure you had a vision for it. Has that vision that you just described to me, is that drastically different than the vision you had when you first started?
Yes.
Yeah?
I call it my 5-ish to 10-ish year plans have changed about 4 times in the last year.
Okay.
It all comes down to a deeper understanding of what customers want, what the market is poised for, and what's more realistic. Also understanding, like one of my first plans was, I think it would be awesome to build like micro farms around the country so I can give as much access to organic sprouts to as many people as possible. And also it's going to be a lot better in terms of environmental impact. Mm-hmm. Understanding that from a deeper perspective, that would cost a ton of money.
Okay.
And I'm just, for like a 5-year plan, that's just not possible. For the state that I'm in, unless I get, a ton of funding. So just understanding, what the market needs and what the customers want really kind of changes my perspective on where I want to go to in the future.
So it sounds like you're pretty flexible when you move. You have a plan, but it sounds like you're flexible within that plan.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things. Getting stuck with an original plan or an original mindset is always a bad idea, because the more you do something, the more you're going to learn about it. And if you're stuck in a mindset where you're not as educated as you were, because in the past you knew a lot less about the business, that's just not a good idea. It's like asking someone that's in, middle school how to do, calculus. They don't know how.
I still don't know how to do calculus, and I'm long past middle school. This has been so cool. Again, you have given me a great education about sprouts. I'm a big broccoli person, but you have informed me that the broccoli sprouts are definitely more healthy than all the broccoli I've been shoveling into my face. But now is the moment. I want you to give yourself a shameless business plug. Tell everybody where they can find you, where they can buy your product, and how to find out more about you and find out more about you and Bare Sprouts.
Sure. So we're in all ages, and also a handful of select bashas. We're also at Uptown Farmers Market and North Scottsdale Farmers Market. You can follow us on Instagram if you'd like. It's at just Bare Sprouts. And really, I think for anyone interested in sprouts, the first thing that I think you should look at is the nutrition. They are the healthiest food that you can possibly eat. Again, it's just amazing what they will do for your body in preventing sickness, promoting anti-aging, helping just prevent diseases. It's just so incredible. Just literally type in organic broccoli sprouts in YouTube and you'll find a plethora of information on it.
Or even better, they should just go to your website, right? Bearsprouts.com.
Or on our website. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. This has been so much fun. I cannot thank you enough, and it has been really. I know we talked before being here today, and you've just been a delight, and so just you've shared so much. So thank you very much.
Yes, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.